Anaya Kapoor thought she found love in the arms of Dubai's richest nightclub owner, Zayed Rahman. But what began as a fairy tale wrapped in gold turned into a nightmare buried beneath the desert sand, where money buys silence and love becomes a death sentence. Dubai's nightlife pulsed like a living organism, neon veins lighting up the skyline, money dripping from every rooftop bar and luxury car that slid past the curb. Inside Club Mirage, the music didn't just play, it consumed you. That's where Anaya Kapoor first walked in, heels clicking like confidence, eyes hungry for something more than the small-town modeling gigs she left behind in Mumbai. She was stunning in that effortless kind of way, the kind of beauty that made people stop mid-conversation. Zayed Rahman noticed her before she even noticed herself in his reflection. He owned the place, the music, the crowd, the chaos, and when he wanted something, he got it. The man was Dubai royalty, not by birth but by hustle. He had the kind of charm that was expensive, polished, and dangerous. To Anaya, he was the fantasy every girl warned herself about, but curiosity burned louder than caution. Their connection wasn't soft or romantic, it was instant fire, the kind that doesn't ask permission before it destroys. Within weeks, she was moving in and dining in penthouses where the city looked like a jewelry box spilled open. Designer bags replaced her old duffel, and the poor girl from Mumbai disappeared into a world of excess she could barely understand. But beneath the surface of champagne and candlelight dinners, something about Zayed felt off. He never talked about his past, never shared his real plans, and his phone never stopped buzzing at odd hours. Anaya brushed it off, convincing herself love was supposed to be messy, confusing, maybe even dangerous. What she didn't know was that she'd just stepped into a storm disguised as a fairy tale, and every luxury around her was nothing but a glittering trap waiting to snap shut the moment she stopped smiling. When the test showed positive, Anaya's hands trembled like she was holding both a dream and a curse at once, her reflection staring back in disbelief under the penthouse's golden lights. For a moment she smiled, imagining tiny feet echoing through marble floors and Zayed's proud grin when she told him. But reality hit harder than the Dubai heat. The minute he found out, everything changed. His charm cracked, his voice colder, eyes avoiding hers. He wasn't ready for this kind of responsibility, not with his empire built on parties, models, and scandal control. He made her promise to keep it quiet, said he'd handle it, but handling meant locking her away in that penthouse while life outside kept spinning without her. The curtains stayed closed, her calls to family in Mumbai went unanswered, and her social media vanished overnight like she'd been erased from her own life. Zayed's visits became rare, just brief appearances followed by expensive gifts meant to silence suspicion. The warmth that once wrapped around her now felt like a trap made of silk and lies. Anaya spent her days pacing, her belly growing while her hope shrank, realizing love wasn't what kept her there, fear was. She started noticing details she'd missed before, whispers from staff, Zayed's phone lighting up with unknown names, the scent of another woman's perfume lingering after his rare visits. She began collecting evidence quietly, photos, receipts, messages, like a woman preparing for war, storing it all in a secret folder she named Truth. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proof. She wanted to believe Zayed would come around, that the man she fell for still existed beneath the arrogance and lies. But every passing night made her see the truth clearer. She wasn't living a love story. She was living a countdown. By the 7th month, Anaya's patience had turned to fury, her once soft heart now hardened by betrayal and loneliness. The baby kicked like a reminder that time was running out, and she wasn't going to raise a child built on secrets. She wanted a name, a ring, a promise, something real in a world that had treated her like a disposable secret. Zayed's arrogance had reached new heights. He barely answered her calls, his replies short and cold, and when she demanded he marry her before the baby came, he snapped. The fight that followed shook the penthouse walls, anger bouncing off glass and marble as if the whole city could feel the storm brewing inside. Neighbors heard sounds that didn't belong in a love story. Shattering glass, muffled screams, the sound of something heavy being dragged. Later that night, the building's security cameras caught Zayed's black Escalade rolling out of the parking garage just past midnight, tinted windows hiding the truth. A few hours later, Anaya's phone pinged for the last time near a deserted stretch of the Al Qudra highway before going dark forever. The next morning, her apartment looked untouched. Clothes folded, luggage missing, phone gone, but a faint red stain marked the edge of the marble counter. Zayed claimed she'd left after another fight, spinning his story with the confidence of a man used to being believed. But behind that calm face was a flicker of panic, the kind that slips through when guilt can't be masked by money. He wiped her from his life like she'd never existed, but those who knew her felt something was wrong. Love might have blinded her, but now, her disappearance was the kind of silence that screamed louder than any confession ever could. When Anaya's best friend Priya realized 3 whole days had passed without a single text, call, or post, her gut twisted with dread because Anaya was never the type to disappear, not without warning. She filed a missing person report, forcing Dubai police to take notice, though Zayed's money and influence made everyone tread lightly. The search started in the city, hospitals, hotels, even the marina, then pushed out to the desert, that endless stretch of golden silence where secrets go to die. A week later, her white Lexus was found parked on the side of Al Qudra Road, engine cold, keys still dangling, her purse untouched in the passenger seat. Inside, investigators spotted a faint brownish stain on the fabric, later confirmed to be blood, but not enough to tell a story. Zayed played the role of the devastated lover perfectly, clean-shaven, well-dressed, teary-eyed in front of cameras, begging for help in finding her. But the ones who'd worked with him knew that look wasn't grief. It was performance. Behind closed doors, he hired a top-tier legal team and refused to answer police questions without counsel. Days turned into weeks, and just when the case started fading from headlines, an anonymous tip led detectives to a rented storage unit registered under one of Zayed's shell companies. Inside were pieces of a puzzle no one wanted to see: Anaya's passport, sonogram photos, a half-burned handbag, and a cracked cell phone with the screen shattered like a reflection of her last moments. Forensics dug deeper and found her fingerprints inside the unit, meaning she'd been there, alive or dead. Rumors spread like wildfire across Dubai's elite circles, whispers of payoffs, deleted footage, and someone high up trying to bury the story. But Priya refused to let it die, turning Anaya's case into a storm the city could no longer silence. The moment news of the investigation hit social media, Dubai's glittering illusion cracked wide open, and Zayed Rahman's spotless image began to crumble like sand in the wind. Justice for Anaya trended across India, with influencers, news anchors, and activists demanding answers, while Zayed's PR team scrambled to clean up the mess. Sponsors pulled out, investors ghosted him, and Club Mirage, once the city's hottest nightlife empire, turned into a graveyard of flashing lights and unpaid staff. Former employees started talking, each confession another nail in the coffin. A bartender claimed Zayed paid hush money to women before. A bouncer said he saw Anaya crying in the club's VIP room just days before she vanished. Someone even admitted they were ordered to delete security footage from that same night, a move too calculated to ignore. Still, Zayed walked around like nothing touched him, flashing watches worth more than most people's rent, attending exclusive parties under the protection of power and privilege. Behind the scenes, his family's lawyers were greasing palms, shutting down rumors and threatening journalists who dared to dig deeper. But Dubai's gossip circles have long memories and sharp tongues, and soon whispers turned into public suspicion. Club Mirage closed temporarily for renovation, but everyone knew it was because no one wanted to dance in a place haunted by the ghost of a missing girl. Meanwhile, Priya and Anaya's family refused to back off, pushing her story to every major media outlet willing to listen. Reporters camped outside Zayed's mansion, cameras flashing as he strutted out like a man still in control. But the eyes of the world were on him now, and even his charm couldn't hide the cracks forming beneath his confidence. The empire he built on secrets was finally starting to rot from the inside out, and there was no champagne or cover story strong enough to wash away the blood beneath the glitter. Months slipped by. the case turning colder under the desert sun until fate decided to whisper the truth. In late August, a construction worker digging near an unfinished resort stumbled upon something that wasn't supposed to be found. A shallow grave, wrapped in a torn sheet, half buried under the relentless sand. Inside were skeletal remains, and around one ankle, a silver anklet engraved with 2 letters, AK. The news hit Dubai like a thunderclap. Forensics confirmed what everyone feared. It was Anaya Kapoor. The official report listed the cause of death as undetermined trauma, but the bruising on the bones and traces of rope fibers painted a darker picture. Zayed, meanwhile, had already fled the country, flying to London under the excuse of mental health recovery before authorities could stop him. His lawyers claimed he was innocent, saying Anaya had enemies and that the evidence was circumstantial. But investigators weren't buying it. Inside the same storage unit they'd found earlier, digital forensics recovered fragments of deleted data from Anaya's phone, recordings, photos, and one voice memo dated just days before she vanished. Her trembling voice cracked through the static, saying, "If anything happens to me, it's Zayed." That one sentence reignited the fire that had almost burned out. The recording leaked online, and within hours, the internet exploded with outrage, demanding justice across borders. Dubai's authorities promised to reopen the case, though everyone knew the city preferred its secrets buried under luxury and silence. Reporters hunted Zayed across Europe, but he vanished again, slipping through cracks built by his own money. Meanwhile, Anaya's family in Mumbai broke down on live television, holding up her photo, begging the world not to forget her name. The truth was finally out. But justice still felt like a dream, drifting somewhere far beyond the reach of those who loved her. Years later, the echoes of Anaya Kapoor's disappearance still lingered like ghosts trapped in the walls of Dubai's nightlife. Club Mirage, once the beating heart of the city's elite, now sat abandoned, its doors chained shut, its neon sign flickering weakly against the dust-filled air. Tourists passed by taking photos, whispering about the Indian girl who vanished for love, the one whose story had turned the city's glitter to guilt. Zayed Rahman had long vanished from the public eye, his empire dissolved into lawsuits, frozen accounts, and partners who refused to speak his name. Some claimed he lived quietly in London, others swore he'd fled to Morocco under a false identity, still throwing private parties where no one dared ask about the past. But no amount of distance or money could bury what he'd done. Online, Anaya had become a symbol, a martyr of silence, power, and betrayal. Documentaries, podcasts, and YouTube channels kept her memory alive, each retelling dragging Zayed's name back into the mud he tried so hard to escape. Her mother in Mumbai still posted her photos every year on her birthday, candles lit beside the ultrasound image of the grandchild she never got to meet. She deserved a life, not headlines, one post read, gathering millions of hearts from strangers across the world. Priya still visited the desert sometimes, standing near the spot where her friend was found, leaving fresh flowers that wilted under the scorching wind. There was no closure, just survival. The police called the case unsolved, but everyone knew the truth. It just lived in the shadows, where money and influence wrought justice from within. Some say Zayed wakes at night drenched in sweat, haunted by the sound of her voice whispering from the dark. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's her ghost. Either way, the desert never forgets.